Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
Live from the Path. My name is Ben Foos. My name is Man Fist. I'm pretty sure that's not your real name. Man. Who's that guy? Who? The guy that you're not showing. Oh, sorry. It's you and Dan.
You usually sit over there.
You told me to move. You said it looks cooler over here.
I'm not saying it doesn't. Hold on. I'll get this taken care of. Hey, you're listening to Live from the Path. Cool. Thanks for joining us here on this Monday evening. It's good to have you.
I'm Man Fist.
No one is going to refer to you as Man Fist.
You should start.
It's just not going to happen. Hey, I got a good show for you this week. So here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about dropping the F-y. Dropping the F-bomb.
This is our favorite topic.
As a Christian band. I do like it because I think it's, in some parts, it's very important. In some parts, I find it extremely petty. On some parts, I think it's a revelation of the heart and where you are with Christ. In some parts, I think it's not a judgment like that at all. That's why I like talking about it.
You sound like you're running for president.
I might run for president.
I'm completely for something I've been against. I'm against.
It's a nuanced discussion, and it's interesting to me how far things can go on either direction of it. So anyway, we're gonna talk about dropping an F-y, and this comes from another Facebook discussion we saw, right, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I was surfing around, and there was a band that's a good friend of the show, and they had posted some stuff, and just asked the question. And what had happened was that a band called POD. They're not a Christian genre band, but they're Christian fellas, and I actually respected them for quite a while, with the message they generally put out. And it's generally countercultural to what most of the other bands in their genre put out, and they released a song recently that had the F-y in it, and it's got the Christian community up in arms. People are upset, said it was unnecessary, unneeded. And it wasn't the right thing to do to represent Christ.
Okay, so we're going to get to that in just a couple minutes. Other things going on. We are on week 10 of our going through the 50 proofs.
Are you gonna call me Man Fist or not?
I don't think so. If Dan will do it, I'll do it.
Dan?
I'm in.
Okay, Dan's in.
I'm sitting right next to him. I have to.
Okay, so when
you Man Fist me.
So when you want to pass it over, just say,
"Oh man,
back to you, Man Fist." Go ahead.
I'm not passing it over yet. And so we're going to be on GodIsImaginary.com. So here's a basic premise of this guy. He's gone through and he's provided what he feels are 50 proofs that God is imaginary. We're on week 10, so we're going through proof number 10, which is called Watch the Offering Plate. This one should be tasty.
This is my favorite topic as well. I like the F-y and money. Those are my two favorite things to talk about.
So we'll see where he's coming from on this one. So far, God still stands.
Here's the thing. 50 proofs sounds more impressive than, say, 50 conjectures, or you know what I'm saying, or
50 ideas I've been thinking about.
50 ideas I didn't bounce off anybody. I just posted it. I feel like here's the deal. Like when I have a great Jesus moment, like I think I've come to some kind of conclusion, or the Holy Spirit's laid something down on me, I always run it by like 3 people to make sure that I haven't interpreted something that's ridiculous.
Before you announce it to the world.
Yeah. Actually, I had one of those moments on the way in today. I was praying on the way here, and to be perfectly honest, like I feel like I've been a little distant from Jesus lately, and and I just started praying some stuff and confirming some things, and I'm like, I just started praying some stuff and confirming some things. And,
what's that,
Ben?
What do you mean?
Why was it playing?
I think God's speaking back.
Why was it playing back what I was just saying?
It's you talking.
Okay, so here's so anyway, I was praying, and I was I said, I don't know where I'm falling away. I need you to help me. And I said, I'm just gonna hang out here. I'll turn the radio off. I'm just gonna hang out. And not like a minute later, my ABS light turns on.
What's an ABS light?
Abs. It's the abs light.
For your
it's when you need exercise.
for your analog brake system.
Your abs are looking good. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, break.
Okay, so now I'm like, okay, so either I have a legitimate problem, or the Holy Spirit's talking to me.
You're saying slow down.
So I looked at my speed and I thought, don't stop doing what? Or stop doing something. What am I doing?
I got a 50-50 chance.
What am I doing? Okay, and then like my mind just starts racing, right? I'm making things up at this point, right? I'm looking at a thing going, ABS, a better servant. I can be a better servant.
Maybe he's saying you're an abysmal.
I do two the pro way, like Mike, you need to do better, encouraging, and then two the bad way, like Mike, you're terrible. I'm like, I'm screwing this up. This is getting out of hand. And then I thought, what if I have a legitimate brake problem? And so I started
It can't be that.
checking the brakes, you know, and I'm like, well, I seem to be stopping. I don't know what to make of this. So I'm just going to wait it out. When I got here, I turned the key off, turned the key back on to see if it'd go away. It didn't.
So maybe you just have a legitimate car
I'm leaning towards legitimate brake problem, but very odd timing. Very odd timing.
Huh.
Something about it. See, this is why I don't say the Holy Spirit talks to me in my car, because I could be ridiculous.
Now, if you would have turned on the radio and it was Journey singing "Don't Stop Believing," I would have started thinking there's some dots connecting or something.
Okay, so I have one other weird coincidence story, which it stands alone, just like this one, right? So we were driving back from my in-laws for Sunday dinner, and I got my iPod Bluetooth through the car so you can play tunes, you know.
Yep.
And so the battery starts to die. And my 2-year-old plays like 3 songs. She recognizes what the album looks like and plays 3, and that's the only one she ever plays. So the battery dies, and she, out of nowhere, she goes, na 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 na. I said, what's that mean? And it's the song na 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 na. That one, right?
Yep.
And so she never plays that tune. And I said, I'm sorry, the battery's dead. It's not going to happen. And she starts crying uncontrollably, and I'm like, well, just listen to the radio. Turn it on. Wham! It just started on the Christian radio station.
Ooh. That's heavy.
ABS, freaky radio coincidence. Something to think about. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Either Jesus is after me or I'm making stuff up. It's one or the other.
Anyway, that's what we're hitting. We're hitting number 10.
Those were good stories.
GodIsImaginary.com, number 10. Watch the offering plate. Also, your chat, advice on Dear Life in the Path.
He also regrew my foot this week. Okay, that's not true, but that would have been more impactful.
No
I
doubt.
would have liked to see the video.
Dang it.
So anyway, that's what we got going on. Hey, just real quick to throw it out there. If you didn't happen to catch the broadcast on Friday, we were out broadcasting from the Manifest show at Indianola Community Church, and it was good.
It was good.
It was very good. Manifest was awesome. It was good to see Saved on Sunday and Double J in full arena style action. They did an awesome job. You can check that out on the YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/thepathonline, it'll be our most recent video that is not live currently, and check that out. It's very, very good. So. I had a lot of fun out there broadcasting with those guys.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Good concert.
It was a good concert.
Yeah.
It sounded good, looked good. People at FaithWorks are always gracious, always have us out, give us a real big space, and it was really cool. So
Double J had the new look.
he did. He had those foreign clothes on.
It was kind of cool though.
He signed his own sunglasses.
You know what? Doesn't there have to be at least a little perceived ego to be an artist?
I mean,
Because you have to get up there and say, "I'm awesome. Listen to me." Otherwise, no one will listen to
Yeah,
you.
that's true.
I have never picked up anything of mine and then signed it, and then said, "Yeah."
That's why you're not popular.
Okay.
If
Okay,
only you
fair
had.
enough. That's fair.
Double J is cool, and you are not.
Okay, that's also true.
All right then.
All right.
All right. So let's talk, Mike. Re-hit the premise on the FA.
Okay, so here's the. Now, I haven't heard this song, right? And I should have listened to it, but I didn't. It had the Effie in it. Basically, POD put out a song that was describing a non-believer's perception of Christ and of where he's at, where the whole world's at, and even Christians in general. You know, like the message that comes out of their mouth that's totally betrayed by their actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it so it goes.
Which is legitimate.
Yeah, which is legitimate. Like
we often talk about that ourselves.
Yeah, it's
without using the FE.
Yeah, it's an artistic rendering of where the society's at, you know, as it pervades to the way that Christian culture works, right? And basically, what it boiled down to is the guy saying, you know, we're all this, we're all that, and you try to talk to me about God. Who the blank is that? With the FE in there, you know, with someone's. I think what it was trying to convey is someone's frustration and someone's disgust at, like, you tell me that you have a God here and he does this and he does this and he loves me and everything is great, and I look at all the people who follow him and I go, what? You know, does this sound like really the way to go? You know, and so I think, like I said, I haven't heard the song. That someone posted the lyrics and I read them, and from the gist of what I think they were getting at is basically they were trying to purvey a non-believer's take on what the Christian culture looks like, and they're frustrated and mad and don't understand how you can try to be selling me a Jesus that obviously isn't working for you. Did you get the same thing, Ben? Did you read the lyrics?
No.
Dan,
I didn't, only because I didn't really want to read the FE. I thought I'm just not interested.
You just do. Oh.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to
why put that in my face.
Now I'm gonna have to pull up the discussion. You got to have the gist of why they're doing it to be able to have any conversation.
Well, I got that from the conversation. I mean, that they're trying to reach people for Jesus, and they're trying to be in their world, and they're trying to be cool and relatable and all that good stuff.
I don't know that that's what they were trying to do, though. I think that's what other people think they were trying to do.
I mean, their whole career, that's what they're trying to do. It's not necessarily just this song. That's why they chose their genre. That's why they have their style. They want to be just. I don't know. I honestly don't know that much about them, other than I understand they want to be just these Christ-following dudes that happen to be in a metal type setting.
Which I mean, we've had artists on the show that are in that same boat.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm all over that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why I think that you should. What is a Christian band or a non-Christian band? It's just like, well, I'm a Christian plumber. Well, you're a plumber, right? You just happen to be a Christ follower. I mean, I don't know that when we throw those labels out, it's a little confusing too. It's like, I really only plumb for Christians. Yeah,
which is not true.
That's not true either.
It
I'll
implies
take anybody's money.
Well, I think people do that because it implies a certain thing about them.
Yeah.
Which is.
I'll be fair and honest, and then if I rip you off,
I would hope you would do that anyway.
Yeah, I know. And in the Christian genre, that they're trying to say, just so you know, we're going to sing about Jesus. So if you're hoping for heavy metal, and some of the typical things maybe heavy metal addresses, we're not going to.
And
I
think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think generally speaking, that's a mistake. If people are coming out to hear your message, they'll catch on soon enough. But I don't see the reason. You don't. I don't walk into the Get and go, I'm getting a chocolate milk. By the way, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Are you a Christian manager? I mean,
yeah.
I only buy milk from the Christians. Yeah.
Mike, are you think you're gonna come up with those anytime?
I'm digging it up. Give me a minute.
Okay. So I mean, well, I guess it's tough to get on. Do you feel like Dan maybe has the wrong idea of the circumstances, Mike?
I don't know. Is Dan against it?
Well, I'm just going by reading the debate on that discussion. That's how the impression I got. Most people felt that's why they were throwing the F-bomb in there.
Was to be culturally relatable?
They're trying to reach people outside of Christ. They're saying, hey, it's their artistic expression trying to reach those people, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like they do that without the F-bomb anyway. So I don't know that was their only goal. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can get to the specific place where it comes out. Okay. Are you the one that's come to set me free? Because if you knew who I am, would you really want to die for me? They say you are the cursed man, the one who hangs from this tree. I know this is the one and the only Son of God, but tell me, who is he? So tell me.
So they're saying this is a non-believer asking the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here
and they probably honestly would ask in that language.
Which I think is why the lyrics are what they are.
No.
So the question is there something to be put off about with that?
I am.
And how?
But I'm not their target audience either. But two things came to mind just in the whole thought of this. One is in Ephesians 4, it says to let no obscene language come out of your mouth. How? And then everybody says, well, how you define obscene? That's obscene. That's an obscene word. Okay. And secondly, we are called in Peter to be holy because God is holy. Holy is set apart. Our language as believers is set apart. So I don't go around quoting everybody that uses the F-bomb and say, well, I can use the F-bomb because I'm quoting so-and-so. It's like I still don't use the F-bomb. I say F-bomb or something. I realize that probably wouldn't work in their song.
It makes no difference.
But
when you say F-bomb, everybody knows what you really mean.
Right. So why say it?
It feels like
there's so many other words you could use.
It feels like you falling into the same category as that I used to get chastised when I was a 8-year-old kid because I said G's instead of Jesus.
Yeah. Euphemism. Yeah.
And they said, you mean Jesus. And I thought, no, I don't.
I intentionally said
G's because I don't want to say Jesus.
Yeah.
And I feel like that. I don't want to go too far with that. I don't think that's exactly the same apples to apples, but I feel it's getting close. I think. Okay, here's my issue on it. Right, I'm not offended by it, but I don't know that makes it correct. I feel like when you try to back it up and you try to say that, I'm trying to relate to a culture, where that language is relatable, right? I feel like it goes back to Jesus didn't talk like that. And it's easy for people to say, well, what would Jesus do? And people are like, But when it boils down to it, we're Christ followers, not like Christ buddies. Like we follow what Christ does. And Jesus reached out to a culture that didn't recognize him, didn't have anything to do with him.
Like he hung out with tax collectors and boozers and
he hung
prostitutes.
Out, right? He hung out with everybody.
Yeah,
and he did not become a tax collector, a boozer. And I don't know what kind of crass language he'd use. He said "brood of vipers," which I'm sure was pretty sharp.
Baby snakes.
Sharp back in the day.
What that means? Hey, you bunch of baby snakes. I mean, very offensive, but not like a swear word.
Well, but I mean, relatively, why not? Well, I mean, what makes you confident that is not that is not on the same level? Because I mean, you're right. Like you kind of passed it off, but like the distinction about what is culturally offensive or not is ultimately relative. And so like you are allowing the culture to define what is derogatory, what is a swear, and then following up with judgment on other people as Christ followers based upon the culture's definition of what is offensive. For example, if you look at Isaiah, you call someone refer to something equivalent to a used tampon, right? Mm-hmm. Dirty menstrual rags. You tell me that's offensive. You couldn't say that now and have it not be offensive. But it was the appropriate distinction. It captured the exact image that Isaiah that it was going for.
It's offensive, but not necessarily like bad language. But not like a sin.
Well, but
a sinful word.
Okay, but what's the distinction? Like culturally, who decides what's bad language and what isn't?
I think what Ben's trying to say is like if the culture defines what is obscene or not, and then you say, so the Bible says you should abstain from obscene talk as defined by the culture.
Right. But even our culture would define the F-bomb as obscene.
They would do the same. The saying referring to something as dirty menstrual rags, I think would fall into the same category. Just because now you don't think so, right?
Maybe gross and ew, but not.
I don't think so because like think of what the F word describes is the same. I mean, it's the same distinction. It's like that word in itself doesn't mean anything except for there's a connotation as to what it is. And the only reason that I care about this distinction, this gets very dangerous because people will try to make the same distinction I make here because they want license to swear, right? And that's not what I'm getting at. I think ultimately your language is and the Bible will say is an outpouring of your heart, right? Like what comes out of your mouth is a reflection of what's in your heart. But the distinction is are you starting to make judgments based upon cultural distinctions, not biblical distinctions, and ultimately, like, does it? I don't know that it matters. I don't know if a song like that is that word in itself, is it sinful? Is there something that is an outpouring in that person's heart that they don't love Christ or not follow him clearly because they use that word in the context that it was used? I think that's a real leap. The people that are offended are the people that are following Jesus already.
That's actually true. Like the people,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's not like they listen to it and the guy hears the obscenity and goes, "Well, that guy doesn't love Jesus. I'm sure of it." You know what I'm saying? It's only people that already know Jesus that go, hey.
But at the same time, you've been in the Firestone plant.
I have.
I've been in the Firestone plant. You go in the break room, and the F-bomb's about every third word or so. Okay. I mean, it's just part of the language. Like, you know, and I would go in there and I just, you know, it was just like, wow, that's not quite like it is at the church office. Okay,
not quite.
All right. Now, if I walked in and I got to engage in conversations with people in the break rooms before, and I let them know, hey, I'm a pastor, blah blah blah. So they kind of knew where I was coming from. And if I walked in and I wanted to relate to the Firestone dudes and say, hey, how beep beep beep, you know, they would have been like, they wouldn't. I mean, they don't even think about it when they say it because it's just part of the language. They're not thinking, oh, this is a dirty word. But if they heard me say it because they know, like, I'm holding my Bible. Of course, I didn't, and the Firestone. You know what I'm saying?
'Cause
they
they
would have
take
said like, dude, you know,
They're doing that to judge you, though.
yeah,
I mean, ultimately, that's right.
Yeah.
So, someone who is looking to say either you're not a good pastor, or like one of the. So, what you don't want, right, is you don't want that's where I'm actually concerned. Is the example, as if my heart is within my heart that follows Christ, I'm vulgar, right? But words don't mean much to me. Like I'm not generally offended by swearing. I think like what comes out of my mouth now is different than what came out of my mouth 5 years ago. But it's more a consciousness of what's around me than frankly anything vile that I think is within my heart. I think it. The one thing that I think a little concerned about is to give the impression God provided the laws in the Old Testament and identifies our sins so that we can recognize the gap. Right, so that we recognize that we're not God and we cannot attain perfection. We rely on His grace for that. And so, if you take away the comparison, if you call something, I don't think this is a great example, but if you call something a sin or not a sin that is a sin, you've lost that distinction. And so I think that's where I'm a little bit leery. Now, I think you can get to, when I look at language, I don't know that I'm ultimately all that concerned about this. If you see someone that identifies with this and say, you know what, that song is talking about me, I have that exact question, and frankly, that's how I'd put it. I recognize this. And he recognizes the position behind the words. You know, and that guy's now sees, well, here's a guy that's asking the same question, and then he's got to, where he loves Christ. You know, how did he get there? I don't understand how we can come with the same question, same perspective, and still... And he loves Christ and I don't, and he pursues it that way. 3 years from now, that guy's not going, you know, it's okay to say the F-bomb. I love Jesus, but I think it's okay to say the F-bomb because I heard it in this tune.
Right.
I think it's a non-distinction to me.
Yeah. Here's the. I think now that I thought about it a little bit, I think where it boils down for me is if you chose to use the obscenity to try to bridge the gap between your culture, like a Jesus following culture, and the culture that exists. That's a poor decision. That's a poor decision because God works however God wants to work, right? And He doesn't work outside of His predestined rules for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like He's asked us to be holy and set apart, and He follows those distinctions because His ways are perfect. And so it's not like He goes, put the Effie in there, so I'll
look cool in front of the kids.
I'll be more appealing, right? God doesn't do that, right? The gift of salvation is pretty appealing without obscenity.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, a guy that writes a tune like that and is trying to encapsulate the exact feeling of what someone, like just the total angst and the anxiousness from that perspective, I don't think I have a problem with that. I don't. Like if it's a novelty and you think this will really bridge the gap between them and Jesus, that's a poor decision, right? The Holy Spirit bridges gaps. God the Father softens hearts, and Jesus Christ saves people. That's it. You know, your words are inspired by them to talk to others about what He's done and the life that's there for you. And
well, in that regard, did the Holy Spirit inspire the Effie?
Well,
I mean, wouldn't that beg into question, like if you've gone out of bounds of something that you don't think God Himself would have done?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
You think God was against the Effie?
Pardon me?
What do you mean?
I don't think He would have said, hey, let's use the Effie here. That'd be great. It kind of goes against his nature.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think your lyrics are relatable if the guy goes, you know, who the heck is that? You know what I'm saying? Oh, that song speaks to me. It represents how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like it's funny, Dodie-ish.
No, it's kind of, it's phony. It's phony. Like if you want it to be, if you want it to relate to the person that you're trying to relate to, they'll see you coming a mile away. You know what I'm saying? If you say things like "screw you, dude," you know what I'm saying? They'll see you coming a mile away and they'll give up on you. But like,
but I would agree. Like you don't. We hit this every time, right? The ends don't justify the means. The means have got to be pure. Like you do your best that the means have to be in the straight line. You don't try to evangelize to people by sinning to get there. That's not how it works.
That's kind of like someone had said, well, why don't we talk about something really important like human trafficking? Yeah. Well, what do you do? Do you go up and say, okay, here, I'm going to have me a few children sex slaves, and I'll go ahead and pay for their services and take care of that because I really reach the pimp, And I
Right.
can relate to him by saying, "Hey, I liked Jolene."
Right.
and-
If I
and
can get to
Susie."
the pimp, it'll
And-
spread easier. I got to go
Yeah.
to the man.
Jesus will understand if I have
Yeah.
have a few children.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
It's a
It's-
utilitarian thought, like
Yeah.
the thought that of utility, where we're able to accept some bad if ultimately the broader benefit is good. It does not work that way with God.
Right.
You don't get to take shortcuts and do the wrong thing because you think it will produce the right thing eventually. You're always have the moral target of doing the right thing. Yeah. So ultimately, I don't know that it bothers me. I don't know. I'm not willing to say that I think it is inherently sinful either. I think it all depends on the heart of the guy that wrote it. And I'm not in a position to judge where his heart's at.
I just think that's probably the most culturally obscene word we have. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem saying, "Hey, who the hell are you?" Okay, hell's a real place. Blah blah
See,
blah.
that's a you distinction, or it's a cultural definition. That's such a
Yeah.
flighty thing.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's like Sunday. I said something like, "Oh, what the crap?" Okay, 50 years ago, I'd be running out of town for
Yeah.
something like that in a church, especially.
You
And-
said what the crap?
Yeah, something like that. I can't even remember what it was in context. Because I kind of went through my mind like, "Oh, well, it's a good thing we're in 2012." You know, and because in some people's world, that's like really terrible, awful word, and because it's a euphemism for poop.
Excrement.
But the human excrement.
Excrement makes an appearance in Ezekiel.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I'm saying
Saul took one.
And Deuteronomy.
Yeah, that's right. Saul did take one. I guess what I'm saying is the Bible doesn't shy away from something that where we have words that otherwise people would consider the words vulgar, but the words are considered vulgar because the act is considered vulgar. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a different variation of something vulgar, and we've chosen a tier of which words we will accept: poop, crap, S-bomb. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if the act is vulgar as much as there are certain slang words that you only use in the context of vulgarity rather than, hey, sexual intercourse is a great act between a husband and a wife. Nobody goes, ew, it's.
But you
the
don't-
act
but
isn't.
you don't
I kind of
pers-
like the act, as a matter of fact.
You don't personally create the connotation,
What
right?
the crap?
I read a book about it.
Language is a tough thing because it's not oftentimes it's not a biblical distinction, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's you don't join the culture or subvert holy living simply to ingrace yourself with the culture and then try to change them to Christ, right? That doesn't work. I don't know that things are implicitly vulgar. This F-bomb and this tune, from the perspective that it's coming from, does it adequately represent people's view of God? Probably. It's probably a legitimate reflection of how some people look at God and say, was it where the F are you or
Who?
Yeah, who, right? Who the F?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it an adequate representation? Yeah. Artistically, yeah, I think you can try to honestly represent the culture, but if the culture is sinful, depending on what medium you're working with, yeah, I think you're going to run into problems. Because to adequately represent the culture, you then have to debase how you speak, what you show, what you do. Right.
Here's the deal. The culture will just put the profanity in there anyway. Like, have you ever heard Margaritaville at karaoke? Seriously, it wasn't in there, and they'll put it in there. If they want it in there, they'll put it in there. You could probably just left it out. I tell you what, the other thing that kind of, the one point that bothered me a little bit about that discussion is there was someone who posted as a reply to it, they said, this is just a small issue. Why are we always fighting over something so stupid? Who are we to nitpick another Christ follower's actions and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we're the people. That's us. Right? If you're nitpicking people who don't follow Christ, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
It's your job to hold the people accountable for those representing Jesus accountable. The people who don't know Christ yet, you just love them until you can't love them anymore. And then you let Jesus love them. And until they come to know Christ, you're not holding them to anything. And so I think they got that backwards. Like, they're like, you can't nitpick people like because they're on our team, we shouldn't roast them. And as soon as you decide to follow Christ, you're beholden to a set of rules that you should expect that other believers are going to hold you to.
Well, at least when you put yourself out there as a leader in the industry, saying, I'm a spokesman for Christ, then there's a little accountability. I mean,
well, and I think it's kind of a chicken-hearted move to say, well, I'm not a Christian band, so I don't have to do that.
yeah.
That's lazy.
Yeah.
That's lazy, and I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to get away from people associating you with Michael W. Smith. Okay, I get that. But here's the thing. Like it's just like we always talked about, right? Like the way that you live, it shows the love of Christ to people way more than what comes out of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? And so the way that you carry yourself, the way that you don't back down from Christ, and the way that you put out the gospel just by your actions, show Jesus way more than the phony words that people have heard for thousands of years of people who say they love Christ and act terribly. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's if when you all boil it down, everybody's got a chip on their shoulder, no matter what side they're on, right? The people who are saying, look, the church people are too religious and too judgmental, and they don't do this and they don't do that, and they block the forward movement of Christ because of their religiosity, and then the other people are sitting on the other side going, you're getting too involved in the culture, and you're not holy, and you're not set apart, and you're not doing this, and there's a lot of infighting between people that follow Christ, and there's a middle there, and when it all breaks down, I think it has to come to a humble following of Christ to realize that you don't set the culture, and you also don't set the rules. You are to hold people accountable who have said they love Jesus to the Bible standards and not your own. Make sure it's the Bible standards and not your own, and that gets rid of a lot of that conversation.
Well, and I think this broad thing does have some roots culturally in Christians being obstinate, holding on to whatever Jesus looked like to them when they found him. And then it just sticks there. The type of music they listen to, the type of clothes they wore, the type of
Jesus don't love people who don't know Lawrence Welk. If you ain't heard of Lawrence Welk, there's no way Jesus is accepting you.
The culture has gone downhill since Lawrence died. Good old Larry Welk. So in fact, I was talking about this with a guy at work today. He was I sent him a clip of Manifest because we were broadcasting from the Manifest show on Friday, and I was like, check this guy out. And so he listened to him, and he said, that guy's a Christian rapper. I said, he is a white Canadian Christian rapper. Think on that for a while.
You tell me anybody but Jesus could do that.
I don't know if that sentence ever been uttered before in the history of life.
Except for when Jesus said it and said, hey, Manifest, this is what you're going to do.
But the discussion was, he's like, what I said was people don't have an excuse. You used to say, hey, I do Christian music, right? And you could basically assume what it is. And a lot of Christian music, even 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago to a certain extent, was not culturally relevant. Like, it didn't sound like other things sounded. It sounded like 3 years behind. Production quality, like type of music, where it was going. Okay, so so within the last 5 years and in upwards of 10, you've started. I don't think you have an excuse anymore. You can't go, hey man, I want to listen to Christian music, but it doesn't sound like the music I like. I don't think it's true.
No.
But that goes back to the thing we started with. I don't know that it makes sense to even say I'm a Christian band or I'm not a Christian band. I play music. Dig my message.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to segment yourself out so only Christians can gather and enjoy you. I grant that it's encouraging. Christian music exists for some people as an encouragement, as a reflection of God's glory. That's awesome. But, I don't see any reason to cut that off and say, I only play music to Christians. And I know they're not doing that intentionally, but when you label it that way, I think it ends up doing that.
I think maybe part of their thought is that it is an encouragement. It's nice for me to have a station if I'm in a whatever mood and say, man, I just need some Jesus music. I can hit the number, and I know I'm not going to get the F-bomb. I know I'm not going to get, hey, take off your pants and do whatever. It's going to be,
what the crap?
I don't listen to this stuff. I don't know what they say. I know what they're getting at, though.
Hey, take off your pants. I'm tired of all these metaphors. Just take off.
Let's just get to it, okay?
Actually, that's pretty much the songs that come out.
That's what I'm saying. But
they're pretty straightforward.
And so I pretty much know if I hit a certain channel or two that it's going to be Jesus. I also have a risk. It could be corny Jesus, But I found a new channel that I really like, and so far I haven't found any corniness. It's not like this 2 songs they play over and over again, and then stuff from the '90s. It's like all pretty current stuff. So
yeah, actually, I thought I found a hard rock Christian station in northern Iowa when I was up there doing some work, and it turns out it was just a hard rock station. The songs were just speaking to me as if I kept listening to the message. I'm like, this is a Christian hard rock station. Where's this been? Like, I really loved it.
I agree. I won't fear the Reaper. I won't be bullied.
Bad Moon Rising. That's it. That's got to be a Jude. So yeah, it was definitely not a hard rock Christian station. But then I thought, you know what? Jesus talks to me for whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I found the message very empowering. But anyway, so where we end up on this thing, Ben?
Yeah. So
Tell us what we think.
here's what I would say, generally speaking. I don't think there should be like Ephesians 4 is clear, right? You shouldn't be obscene. Okay.
Right.
I think it's almost always a mistake. Almost always a mistake. Whether it reflects the culture correctly or not, I think it's almost always a mistake long term. I get it. Like I get it if it's an accurate reflection in this particular lyric of the culture. I think it all focuses between that guy and God. It's his heart, right? It's not. Ultimately, it's nothing else. It's between that guy and God. Whether that word is vulgar and a reflection of a vulgar heart that follows or is it something else? I think the real danger is dying on the hill about it. I think the real danger is reflecting to the culture. Like if there's something like that, like a lyric like that reflects a culture that doesn't believe in God, and they see from a Christian perspective that really we're going to spend a lot of time on that particular thing. We're going to die on a hill, and whether there's an organ in our church, we're going to die on a hill as to whether this particular word is the end of all people loving Jesus. Or, you know what I'm saying? I think that is the danger, is how you handle something like that.
Dang it! Have we done that?
No, here's the deal. I think
Whoops.
you need to handle it with truth, but also grace. I think you can look at that and like, because a guy used the FE, it doesn't mean he's in hell forever, right?
Right.
Could have been a mistake. Could have been intentional, and he just thinks differently about whether that's obscene or not. You can pray for the guy, and you can hope that whatever's in his heart is accurate. However, I think you run the risk on reacting to this in the way that we react to the sins that we're offended by the most. Generally, the ones that we're also guilty of. And so I think that's the danger, and I think you need it's certainly okay to have honest discussion about it, but make sure that you're not dying on a hill about this particular thing.
That's true. Now, do you think that their message has been watered down any? It has not been reinforced because of the negative reaction from the Christian community, right? Like the subculture, like the culture looks out and they're a fairly popular band with people who aren't Christians too. You know, they put out one song with the F-bomb in it, and everybody who claims to follow Christ comes down on them hard. That's probably not a real good endorsement to follow Jesus, is it?
Right. You know what I was actually more offended at today? I don't get offended by anything. This sounds like a good word to use. On Facebook today, there's a couple guys arguing over salvation. You know, at what specific point does someone become saved? And they're going back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And I just wanted to put in there, hey, guys, while you guys are fighting about this really idiotic thing, I'm going to go talk to my neighbor who doesn't know Jesus.
Right.
You know, then I thought, now I'm engaging in a debate. I'm not going to give him my time. You know, I think Christians sit and argue about all kinds of stuff that really is irrelevant. You know, if these guys throw the F-bomb, you know, hey, that's on them. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I think it's doesn't impress me.
Maybe it's not the best idea. They probably still love Jesus.
Maybe. I don't know if they do. I don't know them. I would look at their lyrics and say, they probably don't that much. You know, they might love him, but don't follow him that closely. That'd be my judgment. But then it doesn't affect me at all. I don't. You know, it's like I'm not going to worry about it. I'm more, hopefully, as a believer, I'm more worried about the dude who's right next door to this building, who absolutely, from anything I can tell, thinks Jesus he probably would say F you to Jesus.
You don't like it.
You know, like the song, who the F are you? You know, and I was like, that's the guy. I need to be somehow invest my time with that and my energy in that. Not like, well, I'm going to make this other preacher guy really upset. Ha ha ha, I'll prove him wrong. You know, how about if I prove someone that Jesus loves him?
I feel like we should quit our talk show. Maybe we're just...
we're only an hour a week.
We're only wasting an hour of God's time.
There's obviously no energy involved here. And no thought. So.
Due to the quality of the show, Jesus has allowed us to continue. You guys really aren't making waves either way.
Jesus checked out 6 months ago when we said crap.
You guys are harmless.
Yeah, I think if your first reaction to be pray for the heart, not to chastise the action. I think you can attempt to identify actions that are inconsistent with holy living, and make sure you are demonstrating it, holy living on your end, and you're answering with truth. But like,
you know, actually, now that you put it in that perspective, though, like if you had, let's just say you had put a random post that synopses the whole thing on Facebook. You just came out one day and you wrote, "Do you ever think that people who don't know Jesus think is God?" I certainly would have had a conversation with you about that. I probably would not like as as your brother and actually as a guy that's part of your life and involved with holding you accountable for the way that you love Jesus, I certainly would have called you and said, what's that about?
What were you thinking? Why did you put the FA?
And we're putting it in a context where we don't know the guy. If Dan had done it, I'd have called Dan and said, Dan,
What are you thinking?
what's that about?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd had a conversation
It's
about
my
it.
artistic expression.
I'm trying to symbolize the culture to all my preacher buddies because they won't stop arguing.
Hey, so let me ask you this. Are you offended by the statue of David? The nude
Yeah.
statue of David?
Sure. That it's not like David's. It's not a self-portrait or anything.
That'd have been embarrassing.
Look at this.
Bathsheba comes in and goes, "What the crap are you doing?" Nothing. The Lord does good things. Gross.
So
Honestly, I think all of the religious quote art is a little silly back from the centuries.
Yeah.
So I'm offended by all of it.
it's like
Really, he has a halo? Come on.
It's like it is kind of shadowy. It is weird. Like half of the popular religious art from 400, 500 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago, people are naked.
Yeah.
Angels are naked. David's in bare butt naked.
The way I look at it, it's still porn.
That's true. I mean, how can the Archangel Michael really fight anybody with half a toga on? Unless he ripped it off in anger. That's different.
Just see some scratches
Okay,
or something.
that's Hulkamania style. That's all right.
Hey, when I was a kid, I used to go to Merle Hay Mall just so I could see the guy on the tricycle with everything hanging out, going, "Oh, it's still there." I mean,
Did he have a twig and berries?
Oh, yeah.
I did on the tricycle.
yes, sir.
I never noticed that.
I'm sorry, I did.
Every time.
And I'd be like, "Why did they put that there? Are you serious? Don't they know children like me are here?
He's got boy parts.
I've never seen such a thing."
I don't understand. See, I cannot put my mind in the head of an artist who's putting a guy like that together, and he's down there sculpting the man's business, and saying like does it really take away?
That's about right.
This is before he got those pills on the internet.
But here's the thing: this might be getting vulgar. Never mind. Okay, real quick. Like his only model has got to be him, right? So it's got to be his. Otherwise, he asks some other guy to come in.
Well, actually, I think in that culture, they all kind of hung out. I mean, that's how they knew they were circumcised or not. I mean, it was a big deal. It's like, "Hey, Timothy, you better get circumcised because
See, everybody complains about today's culture, but there's
were
no
pretty
man
open and
business
free.
hanging around. It's
I mean, there was open bathrooms. It was like, "Hey, oh, I see you're a
fully
Jew."
clothed
I mean,
dudes. I will take today over previous cultures today.
Thank God for Quakers.
I like Dan's perspective on how they greet each other. Hey there, Bill. I mean, been Jewish long?
Well, obviously there was something going on there. Or why would he have a full-grown adult to go get circumcised? Because people are going to know.
Ooh, maybe they ask. Are you allowed to wear the hat? Did you have to wear the special hat?
If you're not circumcised, that's true. Why would he say? It's not like everybody just checks all the time. Maybe they did.
Boy, things I don't get from the text.
Yeah.
My Bible study is like
I gotta get that study Bible. All right, you're listening to Live from the Path. We're talking about vulgarity in Christian music.
Here's the thing: prayer solves everything. Jesus Christ is Lord.
Pray on it, love Jesus, witness to others, and try not to drop the FA.
Yeah.
Let's start there and move on. Here we go. We're moving. GodIsImaginary.com. We are on proof number 10, walking through the 50 proofs. Proof number 10 called Watch the Offering Plate. Have you ever thought about the offering plate in church? If God is real, why do they have to pass it? If you read these verses in the Bible, you can see that God claims to be extremely powerful and willing to answer prayer, and he provides, again, his attack on prayer. There was a number of verses, and he says, "Consider this. Why don't the ministers and deacons of the church gather together every Sunday morning and pray to Jesus for the money they need? Why doesn't Jesus just answer their prayers? Why do churches have to beg for money from mere mortals when there is an immortal, all-powerful God who should provide anything they ask for? Here's what God is saying. Pray to me for anything, and I will hear and answer your prayers. I say it in dozens of places in the Bible, but I like the way I say it in Mark 11:24 the best. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Anything you need, money, love, happiness, you name it, I am here to provide it for you. Now, there's just one thing I need in return. I need your money. I need lots of your money. The Bible specifies that you tithe 10% of your income to me, but think of it as a starting point. Feel free to give more. Because even though I created the universe and everything in it, and even though I will give you everything you ask for in prayer, I can't give a cent to any church, ever. When they pass the offering plate at church, be sure to give generously. This, of course, is ridiculous. The reason why they pass the offering plate at church is because God is imaginary. This one's not even rooted in any fundamental fact.
He misses the complete point altogether of the offering plate.
Yeah.
God does already own. He owns every dollar. He owns everything. There's nothing he doesn't own except me. And that is my way of showing how much of me he owns. You know, how much am I willing to part with my stuff? It's a heart. It's an issue totally connected to the heart.
Yeah. God doesn't need money.
No, he's got it.
And
And he can have every cent I've ever had in an instant. All he has to do is stop my heart. And it gets passed on.
So let's hit a couple of those questions, right? First one was, why don't the ministers and deacons of the church gather together every Sunday morning and pray to Jesus for the money they need? That does happen.
Yes, it does.
I just, Lord, will you provide for the needs of your church? So he asking why that doesn't happen.
Do you pray specifically for cash? Or does that feel wrong?
I pray for resources. Like that
Yeah.
God would provide the whatever it is we need to do the work that he needs done.
And he says,
Because
he says,
ultimately,
Dan, just ask me for cash. Just say, I want cash. I need cash money.
Here's the deal: is the currency is irrelevant to God, right? It's how how humans do business, but it's not how God does business. It's not like he hands out 50s.
It's not like he
50s
doesn't.
are irrelevant to him.
It's not like he doesn't know that you use 50s to buy things. So he's not an idiot.
but I guess
I don't know how you do things down here, Ben. I'll just provide random stuff.
But when he's saying like God obviously doesn't need the money, even if you ignored the fact that everything belongs to him anyway, the currency is irrelevant to him. It's just the agreed upon system of which in America we've decided to trade goods. It is an agreement between people and people, not people and God. You know what I'm saying? So it's wrong. It's weird to think like Jesus send me money, as if he has stacks. He doesn't deal in currency. So I think the base assertion is wrong. But when you say, why doesn't Jesus answer their prayers? Why do the churches beg for money from mere mortals? I don't think that's true. Like, churches aren't begging; they're asking you to give because God, like as a response to God, in a heart for God, we don't want your money.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, if we'd have to beg it out of you and say, give it, like you didn't give for the right reasons, we don't want your money, and frankly, God doesn't either. Like we don't want it because God doesn't want it in that circumstance.
And some churches, though, probably do.
Oh, okay.
You know, but that means they're wrong.
Yeah, right.
They're incorrectly using Scripture and offerings.
Right. Right. So I mean, I suppose this could be a true indictment for people that are requesting money from people in an unbiblical.
What happened to
basis.
this guy? What happened to him?
He got the screw somewhere.
How did he end up this way?
So
Here's prayer a lot.
Here's some of the
He hates prayer.
Yeah.
He's not had his list answered the way he liked.
Well, yeah, and you can see that reflected in. Remember here, he said, "Here's what God is saying." He's putting the words in God's mouth. Here we go. Pray to me for anything, and I will hear and answer your prayers. We've talked about that. That's not true.
Yeah.
God is not here to serve you. You are here to serve God.
Well, he will answer them. He just might not answer them how you want.
Well, but I think that's what he's saying is that when I answer your prayers, meaning I ask for X and you give it to me, because that's what he's saying. Why do churches have to beg for money when you should just ask God and He'll give it to you? He'll provide anything you ask for.
Yeah, he's looking for a genie.
Yeah. He doesn't want a God. He wants a servant,
Yeah.
someone to serve him. I say it in dozens of places. Blah, blah, blah. Anything you need, money, love, happiness, I am here to provide it for you. That's not a proper reading of the scripture.
That's not anywhere.
Now, there's just one thing. I need your money. I need lots of your money. The Bible specifies you tithe 10%, but think of it as a starting point. Feel free to give more. Even though I created the universe and everything in it, and even though I will give you everything you ask for in prayer, not true. I can't give a cent to any church ever. God is ultimately providing. Like if God owns it all anyway, He is the provision to which the money came, whether you give it or not. Right? So like it's from the wrong perspective to begin with. When they pass the offering plate at church, be sure to give generously. They pass the offering plate at church because God is imaginary. He provided an addendum here. It says, understanding the rationalizations. A Christian might say, God does answer the minister's prayer. He sends people to give money to the church.
You said that. Boy, he's got you pegged.
He says, if this is the case, then the people are puppets, and God is stealing their money by forcing them to give it to the church.
Awesome.
The absurdity of that situation is obvious. That's not true. God did not send them to give the money, right? Like, they're still giving it as a reflection of their heart to God.
Yeah. I've often asked God to make me his puppet. I would love to be his puppet. And just a mindless little, just stick your hand up me and just do it.
Just do what I want.
I can just
Do what you want.
disengage. But it doesn't work. It never has.
That'd be funny if he made you out to be a real doofus. I am Dan. I'm going that way.
You asked for it, Hudson.
I think
Don't tempt me.
this is one of the challenges of someone who, like, this is really great if you start your life out as a Christ follower, as an adult, and from day one you plan your life around the tithe. It's harder when you've been away from Christ, haven't known Christ, and in our culture you fill your life up with if you make $100, pretty much our society spends $110. It's just kind of how we work.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you become a Christ follower. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. I've got to pay back all of those extra tens because I spent all my 100 plus borrowed 10, and now I don't even have. It's a challenge for people. So often I'm talking to new believers. They'll be like, well, there's no way. It's impossible. I mean, it's not even that I don't want to. I want to. But then they'll take my house away. So, well, you can sell your house. You can sell. You can do whatever. Or you can just say, here, just take it one step at a time. Start with 1%. What are you willing to give God? Maybe you don't need to have pizza 4 times a week. Have it twice a week.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something you can cut back until you get your finances under control, and the longer you're in the workforce, you're making more money, that kind of stuff. And instead of putting that money towards new cars and jewels and vacations, maybe that goes to God. And as other things pay off, it all kind of balances out. And, sometimes it takes a little time to work into the whole tithe, which is kind of frustrating, I think, for believers that are trying to wade through this.
Yeah. So where are we at? Like, obviously not proof that God is imaginary.
No, and listen, if you love Jesus, and there's a bigger conversation to be had about tithing and offering and giving and stuff. But I mean, like, as far as a non-Christian is concerned, his facts are completely non-biblical, and they've put an air of pomposity to God that he doesn't have. Because if God was a pompous, arrogant God, he would have nothing to do with us. Like, there's nothing but love there, and so. Yeah. He just has a poor perspective. We really should just start praying for this man. I feel like I like to disprove what he's saying because God's a great God and all, but maybe from discussion earlier, maybe we should really make a conceited effort to pray for this gentleman.
He just has it. He just has God wrong and likes to reinforce that because it reinforces what he wants to believe about God and about people that follow him.
Yeah.
And I suppose coming from that perspective, like, you're always going to take the easy answer, which is this is fake, it's false, it's not true, it's a shakedown, it's a tired,
it's a shakedown. I knew it.
I mean, and the thing that really stinks about some of these is his perspective is not completely false in all cases, right? Like, he probably sees certain people that have said they were representing Christ and are doing this thing. And are filching people for money, are taking money from people who don't have the right heart, and like are guilting them into giving or whatever, and so what? But just because they're wrong doesn't make him right. I mean, it's not implicit that there's only two answers. Like, there is a right way to do it. Just because they're not doing it correctly doesn't mean God is wrong or that people in general are right. And like that's basically the whole premise of GodIsImaginary.com is like, if I see one group doing X and they are incorrect, then the only possible other answer is that God is not real.
Yeah.
Right? Because how could someone who claims to follow God act in such a way? Well, A, they're a sinner. B, they could be lying in general to take people's money or manipulate people or gain some sort of power or over people or influence or whatever. I mean, all that's possible because a sinful humanity does things like that. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me.
In fact, people should find them more relatable. Like, that guy looks like a scumbag, just like me.
Hey, I'm a scumbag too.
Hey,
how much do you give?
All right, ready?
Yeah, well, we can fit one.
Yeah, dear Live from the Path. My wife and I have a friend, that's in quotes, who is involved in a charitable organization that provides donated items to people in need via community giveaways. Over the years, we have given various items to this person to use in these giveaways. However, we have noticed that some of the items we have given her are now showing up in her home, and clothing we donated is being worn by her family members. Abby, Live from the Path, We donated because we believed our things were going to those in need. Are we wrong to be upset that they have been kept for her family's use? We are considering no longer giving our donations to her. She is a wonderful person, and we're hesitant to confront her with our concerns, but we are left feeling our generosity was abused. How should we handle this? Sticky.
I don't think it's sticky.
Why?
I don't think they should have taken it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now listen, we used to go down to Grandma and Grandpa's house in Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
and they ran a food pantry.
Yeah.
And every time we went down there, we came home with food from the food pantry, loaded up the wheels.
We were legitimately poor.
Yeah, but there's people poorer than us.
There's always someone poorer than you.
So where's the line stop? What kind of undeserving jerk shows up when there's poorer people?
But I think if you're going to be the mediator of accepting gifts, it's a matter of prudence to not be the person that shows up wearing it.
Yeah. I think it depends on the premise for what are you telling people you're raising money or food or whatever for? Is it for generic poor people? Then anybody who's poor, it works. We had a situation like that once where someone was raising stuff for a reservation, and then someone later on said, hey, it seems like a lot of that stuff's still hanging around in their house. You know, it's like, that's not the reservation, you know?
Right.
So that was a pretty clear,
Violation?
violation. And maybe it ultimately got there. I don't know, but yeah, I'm kind of like with you. If you say you're giving it to someone else, you got to give it to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, like, it would be different if you showed up to their place and you said, "Hey, we're collecting stuff, and I'm probably gonna keep some of it."
No one ever says that.
That's what I'm saying. I think, and there's just a little bit of, even if it's unintentional, dishonesty there, because it implies that you're collecting to distribute, not collecting to keep.
Yeah.
You didn't say, "Hey, can you help me out?" Say, "Hey, we're collecting to help other people out." And me a little bit, because that one's pretty. I like that one. Yeah, I mean,
it feels kind of Levitical to me. I don't know why. I feel like they're running the organization. They're giving, they're giving it away. They're taking it in. They're giving it away. They're giving it in. They're taking.
Yeah, it's not a Jesus thing, is it? It's just like we're just distributing.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a huge problem. If it was a Jesus thing, I'd say like, ooh, you're. That's rubbing pretty close. But if you're generically collecting things, hey, we're collecting food for the food pantry, and hey, we're kind of hungry.
and you ate one of the raviolis.
You ate one of the raviolis. I personally wouldn't do
Well,
that.
they wouldn't be able to identify that the can of ravioli
Well,
was
that's what I'm
eaten.
saying. Like, let's say the church was running a food. Let's say our church had a food pantry. It was well stocked, and the three of us had worked there all day. And it was time to finally go home at 10 o'clock at night, and I grabbed a box of Crispix and I left. Problem?
I don't know. I don't think that's a problem. I guess. I don't think that's a big deal. Maybe I'm concerned like from like clothes and stuff that people can see, and this seems wrong because I'm saying like if they can't see it, it's not a big deal. But like I think you're gonna have problems from an image perspective if people think that you're just taking stuff
wearing
off
a
the
shirt
top.
that says, "Hi, my name is Brian Thompson." And it was like the kid's old shirt. Yeah, that'd be really obvious. You figure you gotta be more stealthy than that at least.
I think because it implies that you're picking the good stuff off the top.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm getting the rest. I deserve this. I'm going to pick stuff up. And like, people can just insinuate a lot. So for the health of people continuing to donate to you so that you can help others, I would just not do it. Like, to protect that, go buy a shirt.
Yeah.
Or say, hey, do you mind if I look through? I could use a couple things.
Even the food thing, though, like we have a little food pantry here. It's never occurred to me to like, I would never grab something as a snack.
Now that's because no one donates good food.
There are 3 boxes of Girl Scout cookies in there. I'm assuming it's for the food pantry. I don't know. I saw them today. I'm like,
I was going to ask about those, actually.
I don't know. No,
Looks
they just
pretty
showed
good.
up, so I'm assuming since they're in the food pantry area.
There was 4. I took one.
No, I didn't do that.
But it would never. I've before been like even really hungry, thinking I've looked at it. It just doesn't think, I should have that. I think, I should run home and get something, or run to the store, or quick come and goes up the road.
I feel like maybe my mind's not right because I stopped by this ministry center intentionally during the week to grab a soda because I know there's soda in the fridge.
Well, the soda's not especially for poor people, though.
That is intended for people. Hey, say, hey, come here, hang out, grab a soda. Hey, that's what that's for.
That's actually what I do. So yeah.
The youth group thing is for them. That was long before they ever existed. So it's not even a youth group thing. It's for, hey, you're gonna come in here, hang out. You're gonna talk with.
It's working. I stop in here intentionally to grab a soda and talk to Dan.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week, normal time, 10 to 11. Boy, and it's just a few short weeks till the Spirit Midwest Music Festival.
Do we have any musical guests?
I don't know about that.
Man. Yeah. We couldn't keep him out of here before for the Spirit Midwest.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I'll have to double check the schedule, see what's going on.
Double check.
So anyway, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Live from the Path.
Josiah.
So I'll give you guys $5 if next time we come back you guys have written a song using the word smote and Nineveh
All right.
and Methuselah.
Mike, you got 2 minutes. Okay, I want it.
So Methuselah, Nineveh, and smote.
Okay.
You have to write a song.
While they're doing that, okay, here we are.
Do you have a name for the song?
It's called Methuselah Went to Nineveh and God Smote Him. Methuselah went to Nineveh and God smote him. That's not really true, but I don't care. Someone grab my sword and the moose bones, 'cause it's time to clean Joel Osteen's hair.
All right.
You deserve.
Here's the $5 I promise. There you
He
go.
deserves another
Thanks, buddy.
5.
You gotta love it for what it is. Take a minute to look around and you'll find out it's over now. There's no reason for acting like this. I knew it was coming. You've had it written all over your face for a long while. So let's split it right down the middle and just walk away. There's no use in trying to save something you're just gonna have to change. But I can't seem to figure out why I'm not myself anymore, and I cry all the time. And you're unaccountably gone. You've got no explanation for leaving me alone. Maybe we shouldn't have let it go on for so long, 'cause I am just not myself anymore. going forward, but looking back, I cannot remember just how it got started. I know it's just part of the way this goes. But sooner or